All good.
We're ready. Kia ora, thank you, Robin. Kia ora koutou. Let me first start by welcoming you all to this extraordinary meeting of Carterton District Council here on the 12th of March 2025, and the papers which are attached. Could I please ask everyone to be upstanding for our opening Karakia Timatanga? Mai te mauna ki te tai, mai te ao taonga, ki te ao tēnei te hapuri a whia e tahi, whanau, hare mai te toke, hui tai ki e. Kia ora, thank you very much for that. Do we have any apologies? Councillor Williams? Someone like to move? We don't have any other apologies. Someone like to move? We accept that apology. So move Councillor Newman, seconded by Councillor Gallen. Thank you. Conflicts of interest declaration. Do we have kia ora and welcoming Councillor Aileen online? Good to see you there, Grace. And Joel, I see Joel's initials there. Joel, if you can hear me, kia ora to you. Welcome. Good to see you here. You there. Conflicts of interest declaration. Are there any conflicts of interest that need to be declared? I take the silence that there are none. Nil noted. Move into public forum. No public forum notification of anyone wishing to attend public forum. Thank you, Robin. No discussion, therefore, item 5 is NA. Youth Council views on the agenda items. Is there anything? Looking back to Glenda? Nope. Not on this one today. Looking forward to seeing them next time. Report straight into business. Item 7.1, local water done well, consultation document. This is the reason that we are here with this extraordinary meeting. So the paper is there, along with all documents, open for conversation. Chief, would you like to make any opening comments on that, please?
Thank you, Wish. Councillors will have seen the consultation document earlier drafts. So this is our final consultation document. Some things worth highlighting as part of the consultation. Firstly, we're undertaking an alternative consultation procedure under the legislation, which means that we're only looking at 2 options, not every practicable option. The 2 options being a joint entity or remaining as status quo. Some other things that I'd also like to highlight as part of this is we don't have to, but we are recommending that council state a preferred option as part of the consultation document, and we're recommending that that be part of the regional entity. Also, something that we don't have to do, but we're recommending council does consider is the full inclusion of stormwater as part of the proposal, so that stormwater assets, liabilities, revenues and operations would also transfer to a joint water services CCO under this proposal. Obviously, this is just a consultation document proposal, so you're not making a decision about transferring these assets at this time. We are just suggesting this is our preferred model for consultation, and we will go through hearings and deliberations after we've gone through consultation. I would also like to just take a moment to acknowledge the time and effort that the team has done, particularly Johannes, Karen, and Marcus, Sarah and Anna and the comms team in pulling this consultation document together and our FAQs behind the scenes. There's also been an enormous amount of work going on with the joint project team, which is an expansion of our staff into the 3 Wairarapa and Tararua councils as well, whose staff have been supporting this. So it's a fantastic milestone to achieve this point. The only comment I would like to, or the only addition I would like to make into the recommendations is that we add a 7th recommendation around minor adds, moves and amendments to the document, and we provide that delegation to the CE and the Mayor in case we do find some other corrections that have to be made before we publish it online. Happy to take questions.
Right. So I'm taking it that everybody has had the opportunity to read the papers and read the consultation document. And so the floor is open for questions for clarity or comments that wish to be made by anyone, in no particular order. Councillor Lawrence.
Thanks, Your Worship. When we ran through the document a week or so ago in the workshop, and I just wanted to changes as a result of that, I got some clarification from you that the new water services entity, if it's providing it's the joint one we finish up with, will collect revenues and will charge for services that while no final decisions have been made, initially that the water users in the 4 districts that we're talking about would be responsible for meeting the costs of the services provided and the capital expenditure and debt service relating to those assets. There's been a lot of coverage in the Times Age around where South Wairarapa have got to with their consultation document for the long-term plan and the proposed rates rise that's coming out of that. It does seem that the rates rise they're proposing is extraordinarily low relative to the amount of expenditure that we understand is required down there, given the issues they have with not being able to issue building consents in towns because they don't have capacity. So I'm not sure this is a question, but I'd just like it placed on the record that that's where the costs and revenues will fall for the foreseeable future, because I do think, I mean, we've specifically left any questions around that sort of issue out of the consultation document because we really want people to concentrate on the big issue. But I do think there will be people in Carterton who've also read that stuff in the paper and will be thinking, this doesn't seem quite fair. I guess that's a speech rather than a question.
Perhaps I could answer your question. Rather long question. The piece within, you're absolutely correct. Each of the 4 councils will bring to the table different quality assets and at a different stage of their life. And South Wairarapa's assets have reached the end of their life and need significantly more investment than perhaps our assets or other councils' assets. And the proposal has referred to that as price standardisation, so that there is no proposal to standardise pricing across the 4 districts, which would be a concern for Carterton ratepayers suddenly then being required to fund the upgrade of South Wairarapa assets. And that is a very valid concern that our community holds, and that has been part of the conversations we've had with the other councils. Our preference for this is that instead of attempting to standardise pricing across, or at least propose any kind of standardised pricing, that as you correctly highlight, each council will be responsible for their pricing, and the water services entity will pick up that pricing specific for that district, so that if there is an increased liability for a particular area, then that would be paid for by the benefactors, the water users in that area. I think we need to consider carefully how we join together to make sure that there is equity across our districts. It is a concern that is valid, and I share your concern.
There's still, as I understand it, there's still a significant advantage to ratepayers in the 4 districts in coming together because of the ability of the new water services entity to borrow significantly more than individual councils can. And also some other issues around depreciation of assets and how that's all funded. So it's still beneficial, but.
I agree that a lot of the benefits come from the balance sheet. So consolidating asset and consolidating debt and noting that each of the councils have a different profile of when they need additional borrowing. So Masterton have quite a few years before they might need additional borrowing, and so that capacity can be used for the others. So I think there's definitely a balance sheet benefit, but you are correct in highlighting that the risk around revenue equalisation, standardisation, or cross-subsidisation of one ratepayer to another ratepayer is certainly something that is a big concern and something we need to address as part of the transition and establishment of this entity, should that be the way we wish to proceed.
Any other question? Councillor Della
Yeah,
from the AOG.
thank you, Mayor Ron. I'd just like to reiterate what Jeff has said, the work that has gone into this by council staff and not only the officers but their team around them. It is a big milestone to get to this stage and get this draft, this consultation document out in a very short time frame. I know I have been to a lot of meetings along with Mayor Ron, and the pressure has been on us all for a few months now, and to achieve this and to get consensus between 4 councils, I think is actually amazing. It's actually probably one of the biggest achievements that I can see out of the whole process. So whilst we've got consensus at the moment, we've got to continue that and to see this thing through. So thanks to everybody that has that input, and even the councillors that have asked questions that have been inputted into it. It's really good.
Thank you, Councillor Della. Deputy Mayor. Were you looking at me?
Thank you, Bishop. I just had a question around, we have a preference. Do the other three councils going out with a preference?
So it's a great question. As I understand it, 2 councils have indicated a preference, South Wairarapa and Tararua, and Masterton, I don't think they've adopted just yet, but at this stage their indications are they are, I can't recall the word they're proposing. They're talking about
Considering using the word proposed option.
a proposed option.
But we're slightly ahead of them. They're workshopping today with the intention for the council to consider the document next week.
So the 2 that have adopted a preference. We're not convinced that Masterton will indicate a preference. They will just indicate a proposed option.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor.
I don't have
Terry
any
Campbell.
questions. I do have a couple of edits, corrections.
Hence the request for item recommendation 7 that will allow us to make minor adds and changes to the document, because we will find this before we publish it.
I
And
would,
have them.
I would like to reiterate as well the amount of work that's gone in behind the scenes from staff and some elected members too. Just this is a huge piece of work, and it's history in the making. It's one of the biggest decisions that councils around New Zealand are making for future generations, and I think making sure, excuse the pun, it's watertight to the best of our ability is absolutely crucial, but it's very exciting to prove. I just kind of had one comment on page 11 on pros and cons of each option, and in option 2, my concern on the cons of us remaining as status quo, apart from the fact that our borrowing limit is a lot less, is that there's a risk of not having the staff that we currently do have, as they are likely to be poached or would consider moving to a bigger water services entity. So that for me is one of our biggest risks if we did remain as a status quo. Just kind of wanted to highlight that. And the other edits, I can just forward through the changes on this document if that makes it easier.
Thank you.
Bring it through the meeting.
Can I highlight while we're on page 11 of the consultation document, or page 25 of the electronic pack? One thing we have noticed is under the cons of option 2, standalone Carterton water services, we refer to the constraining funding model with a borrowing limit of ratio of 280%. That's incorrect. Our limit is actually 175%, and we will correct that in the final document. But yeah, so that is a notable change that I wish to highlight before you adopt it. So it's page 10, page 11. I think of 25 on the electronic pack, and on yes, also on that document. So you are correct. It's 175% is our revenue ratio. Should we move to a water services CCO following consultation and deliberations, that will increase to 500%, which is the correct number on the left-hand column.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. The cons on option 2, as said, is now borrowing limit of 175%. Further in the document, and I did read it last night, read it several times, but the limit, that borrowing limit, is not forecasted to reach that within the 10-year plan. So it's not a concern at this stage.
Correct. We and that is, which is great news. But it is also a factor of the consolidation of all of council activity. So we haven't actually separated out and said the specific borrowing for water's revenue versus the specific revenue. We tend to consolidate it all together. But as council, we're not forecast to reach the 175% cap within the LTP.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Comments?
Happy to make a comment, His Worship. I'd just like to reiterate what's already been said around the table about the document that's going to be going out for consultation. I think it's very easily reading and it's very easy to follow, and the frequently asked questions is great as well, which should cut down on potentially a whole lot of questions coming to us. So thank you very much to the team.
We may run an electronic or a live, slightly more live version of frequently asked questions, so that the website, should we get a number of questions come through to us that are of interest to a whole range of potential users, then we will update the website with new questions and answers as they come through.
Councillor Aileen, is there anything you'd wish to add?
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Yes.
Cool. Just a question, Jeff, with regards to the process after the consultation when we have hearings and deliberations. Can you just explain how that will work with the different councils each running consultation, and how we all then feed in together to make this decision, or is it all standalone councils will be making this decision?
So that's a really good question. We sought advice on whether or not we could have some kind of joint hearing or joint certainly a joint hearing. I don't think we could have a joint deliberation, but and the advice was that all councillors would need to attend the joint hearing. So that is, councillors from Tararua, Masterton, Carterton and South Wairarapa would all need to be in attendance in order to deliberate following the hearing, and that becomes very impractical. You could potentially delegate some of that authority, but then you run the risk of the councillors who weren't part of the delegation not understanding the hearings and undermining your hearings and deliberations process. So at this stage, all councils are doing it individually through a normal hearing and deliberation and hearings process. And we will bring that back to council for a decision around a path forward, whether to proceed with a standalone entity or a joint entity. Following that, we will then develop the water services delivery plan. So this is the first step. In order to develop a water services delivery plan, we need to know who's in the sandpit with us. Are we on our own, or are there others in the sandpit? And then once we have that decision from the other councils, we'll develop the plan. After the decision from the 4 councils, we will then need to figure out the transition arrangements. And this is precisely where Councillor Lawrence has highlighted a concern around how we transition our assets, liabilities, revenues, and future community operations into a joint entity without detrimentally affecting our communities' investment that they've already made in our assets, when perhaps another community may not have made that same sort of investment. So I think the transition will become very critical, but first we have to go through hearings, deliberations. Our council needs to make a decision. Are we in or are we out? We will then know how many are in, and we'll develop a plan, including a transition following that.
Thank you.
Joel, hit me out quick. Anything you wish to add?
Morena koutou. No, nothing from me, just to reiterate all the great work that both councillors and the kaimai for the operations side have put into this.
Kia ora whanau. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any final comments? Because I think we're probably at that point. Look, before I do, no, in fact, I'll move to the resolutions and I'll save my comments. Other than to say, look, I think the shift, the fact that the preferred option, the fact that both the options ring fence all monies collected from ratepayers for water, for use specifically at water, is clearly one of the big gains here, and it's precisely what the government was wanting to achieve. So in that sense, we have options that are going to achieve the ultimate aim of the legislation. But all of the other advantages in there, I think it's a bit of a masterstroke from the CE's team and the project team to be looking at that 20-year evolution, and something no council has been able to do. The fact that we have that ability now through this option gives certainty, security to water infrastructure, 1, maintenance, but 2, evolution development to meet the needs of a growing population here in the Wairarapa. The fact that we are part of what is is starting to look, Jeff, like a very unique circumstance in Aotearoa, New Zealand, where we have 4 councils who have agreed to progress together, whereas around us we have seen a splintering and a fracturing. Is something that we should, if this progresses through, we should all be quite proud of. And I'll save my comments for staff, project team, the CEO's group, the AOG, till after we have dealt with the resolutions. So with that finishing comment, could I move to page 14 in the hard copy, to the resolutions, and noting that the CE has indicated a desire to move a further recommendation number 7. So thank you for your contributions and thank you for your attendance. I'd now like to ask that someone move that we receive the report. Councillor Cherry Campbell, seconded by Councillor Gallen. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. And notes that the 2 options presented using the alternative consultation provisions in the Local Government Water Services Preliminary Arrangements Act 2024. Someone to move that note. Councillor Dalla, seconded Councillor Lawrence. All in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Notes the two options have been prepared using the 2434 LTP financial information with the following amendments, and I'm not going to read those out. I'll take them as read. I'm looking for someone to move. Councillor Newman, Councillor Ayling, second. Thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Recommendation number 4 agrees that council's preferred option is the joint Wairarapa Tararua option. I'm happy to move. Seconded, Councillor Della. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. Agrees that the council's preferred option includes the full transfer of assets, debt, revenue costs and operations for stormwater services to a joint Wairarapa Tararua WSCCO. Councillor Cherry Campbell moved. Seconded, Councillor Lawrence. Thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. 6, approves the local water done well consultation document and frequently asked questions. Someone to move, please. Councillor Ayling. Seconded, Deputy Mayor. All in favour? Against? Carried. Chief, helping us with the recommendation 7, please.
Delegates to the Mayor and CE authority to make minor changes to the local water done well consultation document and FAQs.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Della. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Chief, thank you. I just want to close by saying, look, I know that I thank the members for their comments that they have made regarding staff and everyone. I just want to add that finally on the record as the Mayor. For some of you, this journey has been a 5-year journey, maybe 6. You have dealt with previous government's Three Waters legislation and you were involved in the machinations and the considerations of the implications of that and all that it brought. And Jeff, you came in and you were part of all of that as well. Then we have an election, then we have a directional change and a pivot and a new piece of legislation. In fact, not one piece, 3 tranches of legislation. And we've had to stay alert and on the balls of our feet and adjust and sometimes crystal ball as to what the final legislation would look like once it had passed through select committee, once it was finally enacted, and then only then able to move on actually ascertaining what that meant, Jeff, correct? But we've gotten through that. Then we moved to the arrangement in Wellington where Carterton District Council became part of the wider Wellington regional group to consider local water done well options and opportunities, chaired by Dame Kerry Prendergrass. I want to thank you, Brian, for filling in on those times that you were able to do that. And that was another arduous journey. And from that, a very bold decision was made by the 3 Wairarapa councils and Tararua to look at a range of options. And we finally dropped down to agreeing that 4 councils would work together. That was another momentous moment, really, for Wairarapa Tararua. And of course, we've gone through this part of the work stream. I've got to say the project team done a superb job. And I know that Robin Wells is leading in there, but I know, Johannes, how influential you have been in the background, providing pragmatism, experience, and the benefit of what you've brought to Carterton in terms of wastewater management, water reticulation, maintenance management, growth, and infrastructure development. And that's been valuable. And I know that because I've heard comments back from other people who are part of that team as well. We were not only, I'm not only grateful, Jeff, for the CEOs group and the way in which you as a collection of CEOs have operated, but congratulations to you and thanks to you for taking on the role as the head of the CEOs group. And I got to say, Jeff, and I'll say it right now on the record, I don't believe we would have gotten to this point without you. No, I'm just saying.
Respectfully, I disagree, but
I'm saying that you've brought a set of skills and from the corporate background that you have that's been invaluable. And
thank you.
I just want to thank you for that and put that on the record. I also want to thank the comms staff, the comms team. You guys do amazing work. And the fact that you've been able to maintain a presence over the transition of many iterations of a potential consultation document and stay at pace and pivot and finally drop down and present us with what I think, I will say this will be the best consultation document in the Wairarapa, without a doubt. It's easy to read, it's engaging, and it gets the key facts and information across that will enable people to make a quality decision. And the Q&A, the frequently asked questions, it's all there for people to read. And I think it's easy to engage with. So I want to congratulate Jeff and Caroline, your comms team, Marcus, great work to you and Sarah and Anna. So thank you very, very much. So our bit's done at this point. Now we'll go to our hearings. We'll go through the consultation phase, and we'll see what the public have got to say. But I just want to end on that note and move a motion of thanks to management, CE, project team, and all of the management team and comms in particular for the hard work, the effort, the diligence that you put into this program, and the way in which you've enabled Carterton to actually come through this process in what I think is a very, very credible manner. And you've lent dignity to the process and calm, and I want to thank you for that. So I'm moving that motion, and I'm looking for a second by the Deputy Mayor. All in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the team.
No, absolute pleasure. And item 8, there have been no further comments. Item 8, Karakia Whakamutanga. Kai whakaera, irea, kapu, ai whakaatia, ai te ara, kia tūtu whakatai, kia tūtu whakatai. Omie, uie, tai.
Thank you.
Kia ora, Sarang. Thanks, Joel. Thank you, Grace. Ka kite.
Thank you.